so what I'm going to give to you after when we're done, the end of class, I'm going to give you this paper that has all the little screenshots of basically what we are doing. So I'm going to walk you through this stuff. And if while we're doing it, you're thinking, I'm never going to remember what to do. First of all, yes, you will. I think you'll surprise yourself. But second of all, you're going to have this in your ISN so you know exactly what to do. But I don't want to just put this in front of you and you try and click through this because there's some things I need to explain to you. Some of the things on this calculator are very intuitive, make total sense. But there's some random things that you have to do sometimes that I don't know why they chose that, probably a good reason, but to me it seems random. So just want to make sure that, and it's very different than any of the 84s. Okay, so go ahead and turn it on. That's the little house key up here. Okay, oops, turn it on. And then let's talk about what we can see here. On the left, everybody have this black screen, first of all? We're all good? No? Okay, so then, okay, there you go, yeah. Okay, so we're here. There's Scratchpad. Don't ever use the Scratchpad, okay? Don't click anything until I tell you to click. But Scratchpad, because if you get in there, and yes, you can calculate things, yes, you can graph things, but you can't always do everything you want to do in there, and I don't want you to be in the wrong version of what you need to do. So over here in Documents, okay, anytime you start a new problem or you do something new, or we're just starting over on what we're doing now, we want New. So we're going to click 1 for New. Most likely you will get this question. Do you want to save unsaved documents? Your answer is no. So you have a couple of options here. This button right here, that works as a mouse, like a touch mouse. Okay, so you can move the cursor over to no, or you should be able to just arrow over to no, and you can hit enter either way. And then this should pop up. I'll wait till everybody gets here. So one thing that differs from what I'm going to do from the instructions is what we actually add right now. Is everybody here? Speak up if you're not. Okay. So we're going to add a calculator, so we're just going to choose 1. Now we have a blank screen that looks like most calculators when you turn them on. But we also want to add graphs, okay? So see this blue control key right here? And everything in blue, it's like your second key. We want to add a page. So right here where it says document, in blue above it, it says plus page. So we're going to do control I guess I hit something, but that's fine. Control document. And then, so we have this list again, and we're going to add graphs, which is 2. Okay, we good? So you should have a 1, 1 and a 1, 2 up at the top. So we're adding tabs like you would on the internet. And just like on your computers, if you have 1,000 tabs open, your computer might run slow. Same thing with your calculator, right? Plus, if you just keep adding tabs and don't do new, some of the things you do aren't going to work right, and you're not going to understand why. I could explain to you why, but it doesn't really matter right now. All right, so now we're going to do some settings, okay? Which you should only have to do the settings once. So we're here, everybody on the graph? Yes? Okay. So hit menu, menu's right here. 9 for settings. And then there's 3 things that you need to check. And depending on who had your calculator last year, some of these may be right already. But display digits, I want you to change that to, or make it float 4. Don't worry about the next 3 little drop-down things. But then both of these things need to be checked. Automatically hide plot labels and show axes and values. Okay, so these 3 we don't care about. But I want you to have float 4 right here, and these 2 checked. Yes? Just hit menu. Menu and 9 for settings. Now, you have some things down at the bottom that I don't have. You have, or most of you should, it depends on what version of the calculator you have, but if you have a button right here that says Make Default, click Make Default. If you only have OK like I have, then you can click OK. Everybody good? And you'll find real quickly that the mouse is kind of cool and can be helpful depending on what you're doing. Then other times it's super frustrating and ridiculous, right? It kind of depends on what you need it for. You good? Did you ask a question or just a comment? Okay, we good? All right, so I'm going to click OK, and we're back here at the graph. Okay. So now we're going to go do some document settings. So I want you to click on the house again, and you'll get this black screen. Which, yes, I know we could have done it when we were there before, but there's a reason we're not. So that on with the little house, yes. Good? We're going to do these settings. So 5 for settings. 2 for document settings. And these are the things that I want you to, 3 things that we're going to fix here. This first one should say float, not float 4, just float. Okay? So make sure you choose float there. The angle should be radian. And then don't worry about the rest, but the last thing you need to worry about is this calculation mode, and it should be approximate. Okay? So float, radian, approximate. And then again, if you have make default, make default. If not, we just click OK, and we're back here. So when we are done today, I'm going to give you the paper and have you fill some stuff in. You may want to get back to what we did today on your calculator. So that means you wouldn't want it, when you turn it back on, you wouldn't want to go to new, right? But we're also not going to save the document necessarily. But when you turn it on and get this black screen, instead of new, we want 4 for current. So if you do 4, it's going to take us right back to the things that we had. No, calculation mode is approximate. Approximate. That doesn't matter. You just need the float, radian, and approximate are the only things that matter. All right, we good? All right, so now if you have a little flashing cursor here, because at this point, because we've hit things, and sometimes you hit things you don't mean to, some people don't even have an F1 of X yet there, so we're just going to hit enter so it goes away. So again, most of what we do today, you'll understand through the menus that, oh, kind of makes sense. Like if I gave you a new phone or a new computer, you could figure it out. You're not reading manuals. I mean, let's be real. But again, sometimes there's things you have to look up, like how the heck do I do this? It doesn't make any sense. This is one of those. If I want to actually go back, I need to type in a graph. I did not even type in an equation. So I need to get back to where it lets me type in F1. To do that, right above Control, you have Tab. You hit the Tab key. I'm sure there's a great reason. I have no idea, but to me it seems random. So you hit the Tab key, and now we're back at F1 of X. Okay? Now, look down here. You have for your keyboard, you have the entire alphabet. It's not a QWERTY keyboard, because if it was, those aren't allowed on SAT and things like that. But the X, Y, and Z buttons that you would use a lot, they're black down there so that you can find them easier. So we're going to type in X to the 5th. So there's X. So I just type X. Right here is, I know you know to use the caret top, but I don't want you to have to hunt for it. It's right here on the row with 4. So X to the 5th power. Okay? We good on that? So then I want you to hit enter. And there's your graph of X to the 5th. Okay? Which I know is not that shocking, but there's a reason we're doing this. Because that's actually not the entire graph that we want. Okay? But we got to talk about what do we do, and we need to go back and fix that. So I want to make sure everybody has an X to the 5th graph first. Are you good over there? Okay, well, what are you stuck on? That's right. And then just hit enter. Yeah. Okay. So does everybody have an X to the 5th? Check your neighbors. Okay. So how do I get back to where I can type in graphs? Tab. So I'm going to hit Tab, but look, it takes me to F2. I need F1, so I'm going to arrow up, so I'm back up here. Okay? And now I'm going to give you the rest of what we are typing in. We have X to the 5th minus, and make sure you use the minus sign and not the negative sign, minus 5X to the 3rd. Okay. No, don't use the negative sign. Use minus. Yes. 2. So you have to arrow up. There you go. Arrow up. Arrow up. There you go. Okay. Are we good? That's negative. This is minus. This, yeah. Okay. We good? Okay. So back up here. Got X to the 5th minus 5X cubed. Then we're going to do minus X squared. So minus X squared. And look what happened to mine. Is that what I really intended, you think? Yeah, I gotta get out of the exponent. So I'm like, dang it, that's not what I wanted, because that's going to happen to you sometimes, I promise. So once I'm here, I'm still up in the exponent, so I'm going to arrow to the right, and it drops me out of the exponent. Okay? And then, I already forgot what I told you. Minus X squared plus 2X plus 1. Okay, so after we've typed that in, did our graph change? No. So one thing that you need to be mindful of is that you're not going to see what your graph, what you just typed in, until you hit enter. If you type all that in and then you click somewhere on your graph, all what you just typed in went away, and then you're not even using the function you think you're using. Okay? So make sure that once you've gotten that, because we didn't change from x5th, then we hit enter, and that's what your graph should look like. Now, I know that we know what the function is, what the equation looks like, because we just typed it in. But if we did not know what it looked like, just looking at the graph, do you think that the degree would be even or odd? Odd, okay? Not because we know that it is, because I know you can even see the equation, but it looks like over here we're going to negative infinity, and over here we're going to infinity, right? Just move this on. That's what it looks like, right? Now, would it be possible if, again, if we didn't know what the equation was, if this side actually goes down, have a minimum over there, and then it comes back up over here, and it could be even? Right? I mean, because we have no way of knowing that, right? If we didn't know what the equation was. But it would also be possible if that happened, and over here, I went up and then came back down, and it was still odd, right? So those, we don't necessarily know. But because we do know the equation, it's a 5th degree polynomial. I have 3 zeros here. And then I have this stuff going on. That's where my imaginary stuff is. So I feel pretty confident I can see the majority of the graph of what I want. That's what I was getting at here. Now, one thing I can't see is I can't see where this relative minimum is. But because I know it's a polynomial, I know it's continuous. So it's down here somewhere, right? One nice thing about these that's different than the other TIs is that for some things that you find on those, if you can't actually see it on the graph, it's not going to calculate it for you, and that's not true on this one. So we don't have to mess with our window to try and get that in there. We can just leave it like it is for right now. Okay. All right, now I want you to look at this graph and tell me, what do you think the y-intercept is? 1. Looks like 1, right? But we should never guess off the graph, and we never use trace because it's trash. But couldn't it be like 0.9 repeating? I mean, it's pretty close. 1's a pretty good guess, but it's a guess. So we want to actually calculate it. If I want the y-intercept happens when x is what? 0. Okay. So we're not going to actually do this part on the graph. We're going to go back to the calculator part of this. So we're going to do Control Left. And there will be times where we type the function into the graph. We don't care at all what the graph looks like. We need that information in there so we can do stuff on this screen. Okay? So if I want the y-intercept, that's when x is 0. So basically, I want f of 0. Would you agree with that? Okay, so I'm going to tell the calculator that's what I want. But I can't just put in f of 0 because I could have a ton of functions graphed. The one I'm interested in is in f1, right? I'm going to show you 2 different ways to actually type that part in. The first way we do it is what I think is the easiest, but again, it's a matter of opinion. Since it's in f1, I actually want f1 of 0. So on my keyboard here, I'm actually going to type f1 and open my parentheses. So I can say calculate f1 of 0 for me and hit enter, and it was 1. Even though it was a guess, we were right. I mean, that can happen. Yes. Now, if you look back at this equation, you don't have to go back to the graph, but I'm going to. Actually, calculating the y-intercept is not that big of a deal because all the x's zero out, right? But what if I wanted f of 3 and I didn't have a calculator? Like, that'd be a lot to do, right? It'd even be a lot to type in if I just wanted to put 3 to the 5th, blah, blah, blah. So on this screen right here, I'm going to show you the other way to get the f1. We're going to ask, what is f1 of 3? And it'll just do it for us. So you could just type it in, or right above 9, there's this bar key, and you can hit that. Now, we only have one thing typed in, but you could have a whole list of these things. Then you have to either fight with the cursor or fight with the arrows or whatever, and then choose it. Whether it's just 1, it's fine. That's why I really think it's easier just to type it in. So f1 of 3, and then we should get 106. And we didn't have to actually do this stuff. Yes. Mm-hmm. Oh, I thought you were asking. Huh? You got 100? Then something is not right with your function. Yeah, you are missing the, I think it's plus 2x. I'm not sure. Off the top of my head, I don't know what it is. Okay. That's what your graph, or that's what you're missing the plus 2x in there. Yeah, so add the plus 2x in there. Come on. All right. So we just figured out what y is when x is 0, right? What if we want to know what x is? I'm sorry, no, well, we did that, but we just found what y is when x is 3. What if I want to know what x is when y is 3? So basically, instead of finding f of 3, I want to know when f of x equals 3, right? And f of x, that's just y. That's just y equals 3. So basically, at what x values does y equals 3 is what I'm looking for, okay? This is just the equation of a line, right? Just the equation of a horizontal line. So we're going to let the calculator do this stuff for us as well. We want to type in another graph. So we're going to hit tab and F2. Basically, I just want y equals 3, so I just hit 3 and hit enter, and then you should have this red line there. Okay? So you're tab and you're at F2, you put in 3. So now you can tell me with confidence how many x values are going to have a y value of 3. 3, because I can see where they intersect, right? And I want to know where they are. Again, not tracing, because that's guessing. Okay? I want to actually calculate what they are, and the calculator is going to do all this stuff for me. So we're not going to find all 3 right now. We're just going to find this one right here. We're just going to find this one right here. Okay? So I need the calculator to find the intersection. So I look at my choices here. Well, most of the time, the things you're looking for are in a menu, right? So we're going to hit menu. Then we can ask ourselves, okay, what are we trying to do here? We are trying to analyze the graph. Would you agree with that? So 6. And then what are we looking for? Intersection, that's 4. Now don't touch anything, right? You have this vertical dotted line with a little hand, and it says lower bound, yes? Okay, don't touch anything. The lower bound means the lower bound of the domain. So I need this dotted line to be on the left-hand side of where that intersection is. You can use this button right here as the mouse. I can't do that on my board. It doesn't let me do that. But you can but like you can just move it easily with the mouse and move this dotted line. I have to do it this way, if it lets me. Do it this way. So it doesn't have to be really, really close to it. It just needs to be on that side of where they intersect. Okay? So you can do that with the mouse. You can touch something now. So then when you get there, then you can click the little mouse thing. And now it says upper bound. Don't click again. You get click happy. You're not going to ever get a good result. So that was my lower bound. So now, since it says upper bound with a question mark, you can use your mouse to move it over to the other side of that. I have to do this, but you can just slide it with the mouse. And so it highlights it, and it puts those dotted lines on either side of where the intersection is and tells you if it's there or not. Then you can just click again, and there's your intersection. Oh, good Lord in heaven. You still didn't put in plus 2. Where? Do you have a plus 2x in there? Oh. Goodness. No. That's not 2x. That's x squared. Goodness gracious. Okay. How are we doing? Yes, and you press enter. And then that point should pop up. Sorry. Okay, so you have graph with a question mark. So you don't have a y equals 3 graph. Where's your y? You have to put a 3 in there. You don't have a red line. Huh? No. Because I don't have time to write it out, and you need to know what's going on. And I've already told you need to start going in a different class. Okay. All right, here we go. Ready? Take a deep breath. Here we go. Now, there will be times where these ordered pairs are they're in the way. They can get in the way because they're going to overlap each other. So I'm going to show you. I'm going to have to tell you how to do it because I can't physically do it on the board, just because of the way the touchscreen stuff works. But you want to move your cursor to where it's over this ordered pair over here, And when it's on top of it, you should get a hand that kind of looks like this. Okay, so once the hand looks like this and it's on there, then you push and hold this button right here, and then it turns into a fist. Okay? And when it turns into a fist, the mouse clicky button, when it turns into a fist, then you can move the point wherever you want to move it to. You have to push and hold. Well, it turns into a fist for a minute, and then I think when you start moving it, oh, see, it's a fist. Well, it's not a really tight fist. The other one looks like this, and it kind of looks like that. Like it grabbed. Kind of grabbed. Thank the Lord. Okay. Now, you don't always have to go moving stuff around, but there will be times it'll be right on top of another point, and you need to see it, so I want to make sure you know how to do it. Okay. The hand up here, it only pops up when I don't want it to, and I can't make it do it because it's much easier to do on the actual calculator. All right, so are we good? We got that intersection, right? Okay, so the next thing we're going to look at these, and there's two other points on here that we're not going to do for the other two intersections, but how many relative minimums do I have on this graph? 2, okay? I have one right here. Oh, shoot, some letters. Sorry, I keep tapping so that, and then one down here, yes? Is there an absolute minimum over here? No. So don't go try to find one. It goes to negative infinity. It's not a minimum. So if you get, I'm going to know who does it wrong because you're going to get a really skinny graph and then be really confused. So we're going to start by finding this minimum. But I don't need my red line for that. When you are doing these things in the menu, it's going to be much easier for you if you don't have functions on there you don't need. So we're going to hit tab again, and we're going to arrow up. An arrow up, and then we're not going to delete it because especially if it's a long, complicated one, maybe I actually am still going to need it. I just don't want to look at it right now. So you can uncheck it, and the red line goes away, but the function is still there. Okay? Trust me, you want it gone because otherwise it's going to ask you questions you're not going to know how to answer. Okay? But that's okay. It takes some getting used to on how to use these. So as long as you're practicing with them, you'll be fine. Okay, so now we're going to find this minimum. So we're going to hit the menu because that's where all our stuff is. We are still analyzing the graph. That is 6. What am I looking for? The minimum, the 2. Now you have the dotted line again. Listen, same thing. You want to be on, hang on, I'll come right there. You want to be on the left side of it, and then when it says upper bound, click right on the right-hand side of it so you'll get that minimum. You hit tab, arrow up. Okay, yours turned into a relation. All right, so this happens sometimes when you're backing things out of a graph and you delete too much. Weird things happen over there. Okay, so we're going to go over tomorrow probably how to actually fix this, but I'm going to just do it for you right now. What am I trying to do? Because it won't make sense to some people. No, that's not what I wanted to do. What am I trying to do? Oh, graph edit entry. And then we want it to be a function. You have it as a relation. So now you can go do it, and now you can turn that off. There you go. So you can arrow there, like uncheck it. Well, I think you might have to use the cursor for that. That's part of the problem too. When I don't always, I think the only way you can uncheck it is with the cursor. There we go. And then just click somewhere else on the graph, like right there is good. Like the middle button. Did you do that? Yeah. Okay. Escape. There, it goes away. Okay, you good? All right. So we all good on this minimum? Yes? Okay, now we're going to go find the other minimum, which is not over here. It's over here, okay? And we can't see it, but we can still get that dotted line on either side of it, right? So we're going to do menu, 6, minimum. Don't scroll down. Just do it as it is. Get onto the left-hand side of it, right-hand side of it, and then it'll take care of it for you. So if you actually got that far, you see how it fixed your window for you so that you can see it? That way we weren't messing around with the window trying to figure it out. Okay, so you have a graph with a question mark. Why do we have a graph with a question mark? You only have one graph. All right, so menu. Yeah, 6, 2. Yeah, 2. Because we're finding the minimum. Okay. Are we good so far? No. I think that's because you're on a different version of the calculator, which might seem ridiculous, because I think this one rounds and I think that one truncates, like that, or theirs truncates. Because I don't think, is your y value the same? Oh, that's strange. Yeah, I don't know why. It's okay. Okay, are we here? Now, remember, listen, there's times to change your windows and there's times not to worry about it. If they're on, especially on application problems, a lot of times it's really clear what to do with your window. But here, we would have had to play around with it to figure out how to get this to fit, but by doing this, it did it for us. Now, I'm pretty confident by everything that we've done that we can see most of the important stuff for our graph. But I also think all this stuff out here and out here is just not necessary. So we are going to change our window, and we're going to go from -3 to 3 and just leave y as it is because it took care of it for us. Okay? So we're going to go to menu again. Go to menu a lot. And I want 4 for window or zoom. And then we want window settings, which is 1. The only thing we're changing is the x min and x max, so -3 to 3. Don't worry about anything else. And then just hit OK or enter. You've got this. -3 to 3. It's a window setting. It's neither one. Okay, now you see how this point right here is right under the x-axis? I'm going to move it just because we're going to find some zeros in a minute and it's kind of in the way, so I'm just going to kind of move him down here and kind of center him over that point so I know what he goes with. Right? And you really want to practice with the click and drag because that little hand can be frustrating sometimes. All right, are we all good on that? Okay, so now we're going to go find the relative maximums. Okay? So menu, then what? 6, then what? 3, because we're looking for the maximums, right? And then you do the same thing. Move your dotted line to the left of it. And then when it says upper bound, you can use the cursor, use your little mouse. I have to use this, but you want to actually just slide with the touch mouse. I can't do that on the board, so look at this. And then I can click and hit enter. There's a maximum. And then I'm going to find the other one. So menu, 6, 3, move it to the left, move it to the right, and you have your other maximum point. Then I'm going to move them so they're out of the way. I'm going to take this guy. The only thing that's really easier on the board is moving the points. Move him right there, and oops. Pretend like I didn't do that. I'm going to take this guy. Actually, I said that, then I couldn't do it. Put him right there. Okay. What questions you got at this point? Anybody stuck or lost? Your graph finally look like mine? Good job. I'm proud of you too. Uh-huh.
Can you switch them? Like,
Can you switch what?
I don't want to do it, but like, you know how when you
I don't know, but don't do it. All right. Now we're going to find zeros. Okay? How many zeros do we have? 3. 1, 2, 3. This one kind of looks like a 0, but the y value is at 0.33, so it's not. Okay? I don't know. So we're going to find this one first. So guess what? I go to menu. I'm still analyzing the graph. What am I looking for? 0. That's 1. Guess what? You get the little dotted line again. You go on either side of that 0, and it'll give you the 0 value. No, you cannot do the whole thing because there's more than one 0. And it will not give you all 3 of them, absolutely not. You have to do one at a time. It's just a very small little domain that you're using. Okay? Anybody having issues with that? I know. You're not always going to be doing all of this all in one graph. We're just trying to practice some things. And then the whole thing moved. Okay, that happens. So just hit escape. All right, so let's go to menu. And then window zoom. All right, and then let's go to window settings. Go from -3 to 3. And then you can do like from -15 to 15 on Y, and it'll put it back for you. All right, so let's talk about when crazy things happen. Listen, shh. If you accidentally move things around or you accidentally make it really big or really small, now we've already changed our window, right? We know it's -3 to 3, but we let it do the Y, so we wouldn't necessarily get that back. But you can always go to the window zoom settings here. I'm not going to do it, but and then if you want it back to the original, like how it was before you started messing with it, you can go to zoom standard, and then it'll at least get it back there, and then you can go do something with it if you need to, instead of you trying to figure out what the heck is going on. Okay? All right, so find the other 2 zeros then, if you haven't already. Menu 6, 0. And here, see, these 2 ended up on top of each other, so I'm going to just move that one down so I can see a little bit. All right. What questions do you have? Okay, so remember this. When I give you this has the click sheet that we may have done a couple of things in a little bit of a different order, but it's the same thing. Here's what I want you to do before tomorrow. The function that we typed in is the function that's at the top of here, and here's some blanks. You have now loaded in your calculator the majority of the numbers that you need for this. The only thing we didn't do is we didn't find all 3 places it intersects at 3, just because I wanted to make sure I had enough time to go through the rest of it, so you would need to go back and do that. I would suggest that it would be a good idea if you actually started from scratch and tried to follow this, but it's the exact same thing, right? Because then you can make sure that, and you can practice with it, or maybe get some of your answers done and then start over, but you'll know exactly what to do on this specific one and exactly what numbers you should get and all that kind of thing. This will end up in your ISN. You don't have to put it in today because we will talk about it tomorrow, but do that. If you do not practice with this calculator, it's going to be a nightmare. If you practice and actually use it for when we're supposed to, you'll be fine. Like, you'll get the hang of it. It's fine. Anything new is a little bit weird, but are we good on that? Okay. You don't have to save the document. If you just turn your calculator off, when you turn it back on, you can go to current, and you'll be right back where you are, okay? So just control on will turn it off for you. Remember, if you have not charged these yet, charge it tonight, okay? We good? All right, so let me give you this sheet.